This is your host, Jason Snellgrove, and I will be your guide as we journey down the road to pleasure hunt or hitting the long trail to those great comp hunts. This is the Coonhound Collective podcast. All right, welcome to the podcast today. Today we're going to talk about some Bluetick dogs, and I have got Conner and Brian Lucas with us. How's it going today, guys?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
That's good. Well, let's start with your dad, Brian, there, and how did you get into? Well, first off, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
I'm from Bloomington, Indiana. Around here, you think of Indiana as flat, but it's actually pretty hilly, rolling hills around here, big ridges and hollers.
You're close to the Marilyn Monroe or whatever they call it. What do they call that place? Morgan Monroe, not Marilyn Monroe. Morgan Monroe. I've heard some rough stories about that place.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of Morgan Monroe, Hoosier National, Yellowwood State Forest. So we're right in the middle of all three of them.
Yeah, they say that Morgan Monroe place is some pretty rough hunting in there. At least what I've heard, anyway.
Yeah, it's not quite as rough as around Lake Monroe.
Oh, really? Okay. Huh. Well.
Yeah, heck, we got timber rattlesnakes and everything.
Oh, yeah. I'm from Alabama originally, southeast Alabama, and we had diamondbacks, timber rattlers, water moccasins, copperheads, and alligators, and you can have every bit of that. I don't want none of it. I don't like any of them.
I'm not a big particular fan of any of them.
Yeah. Well, Brian, won't you tell us how you got to messing with these dogs back years ago, whenever it was?
Well, I was, 14 or 15. Dad had kind of wasn't around, so I didn't really have any way to get out of the house or go anywhere. And I had a cousin that was married to a guy that had an old Walker dog. And so I started going hunting with him. The old dog, if you treat a coon at night, you were doing good. And, I didn't know anything, heads from tails. So I thought that was coon hunting. And I had a cousin that was Kevin Leach, and he had Blueticks, and we went with him one night, and we treated 8 coons. Well, I was just, flabbergasted. I said, do you treat 8 coons every night you go? He said, oh, no. A lot of times we treat 12. And so I started asking Kevin to take me. Well, at the time, he'd had a run-in with game wardens. And so he had been hunting with 2 undercover game wardens for a while. And he just got out of trouble, so he was kind of reluctant to take me, even though we were kind of family.
Yeah. So, okay, I got a question. How much of that story can you tell? Because now I'm intrigued to how this even come about.
Well, like I say, he had been hunting with a couple of undercover game wardens, and they were shooting coons out in the summer. And I think they were kind of encouraging him to shoot the coons out. So he got in some trouble, but the only trouble he really got in was they called everybody that they had hunted on and got them to fill out trespassing charges.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So he kind of got them for entrapment on the coons. So he didn't get in trouble for the coons, but I think he got in trouble for trespassing.
Got you. My fellow podcaster wouldn't have been one of the game wardens that lives in Indiana, would it? Chris Powell.
I think Chris was innocent in the whole deal.
Okay, yeah, me and him's talked a few times. I don't really know Chris, but he seems like a pretty good guy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Good guy.
All right, I'm sorry. You intrigued me right from the start. So go ahead with the rest of your story.
So, so, after about me calling Kevin 6 or 8 times to take me, um, he finally showed up at my house one night and he said, "Come on, let's go." And I don't know, 14 or 15 years old. And he said, "We need to go." He said, "I turned the dogs loose and they're treed." Well, that just kind of blew my mind, because like I said, I was probably hunting with a less than mediocre walker dog at the time. And, and I kind of didn't believe him, you know, and, we drove about 6 or 8 miles up the road and the dogs were treed down a holler. So he turned them loose and then came and got me. But, I think we treed, I don't know, 11 coons that night. And I was hooked. I wanted a blue dog. At the time, Kevin was hunting Grand Night champion Leach's Frosty. She was out of uh, Leachman's Hawk and Smiley's Rock Ann, which was, back in the day, that was one of the better crosses.
Yeah.
I feel like, that was probably ever made. But that's what all our blue dogs go back to
So
that we're hunting right now.
so they go back to that frosty dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Or
did
or a
you
sister or brother to her.
right? So I
Grandma.
guess you abandoned the walker dog at that point.
He was very upset with me. Yes, I forgot his number real quick.
Yeah. So what? I guess did he breed the dog and you get a pup? Is that how you got started with him, or?
Right. Yeah. He bred Frosty to Rob Seedling's jazz dog, and I got 2 females out of that cross. And you know how it is when you got 2 pups. The pup that's doing the best is the pup you're taking to the woods. And I started hunting one of those pups. By 6 months old, she was doing it all by herself. By 10 months old, I had her made night champion, and at 12 months old, I had her killed on the road.
Oh man, that's
Yeah, it
terrible.
was it was rough.
Yeah, because I mean, you had that dog at night champion at 10 months old, and then it's dead at 12 months old. I mean,
And she got a first place in RQE at at like 8 months old or something.
wow. You know, not to get off subject, but these animal activists act like we're out here just abusing something, and they just don't understand just by 12 months old how much time that you've spent with that dog in the woods at night to train it to do what it's bred and loves to do. I mean, it's mind blowing to me that how much time you'll have tied up in one just getting it to that point.
Yeah, every night. I'd go every night when I was younger.
So I guess did you still have the other female that you had, or had you done something with
No,
her?
I had ended up selling her to somebody, and they wouldn't sell her back to me because they liked her. So this is awful crazy story. So Kevin's dog Frosty was getting ready to have puppies. So she had the puppies. She only had 2 females in the litter, and I took my dog Cindy to that first night champion hunt I ever took her to, and got her killed on the road. That morning, before I went to that hunt, I got a call from Kevin's wife. She said, "Brian, I need you to come over. Kevin needs a friend. Frosty's died with pups."
Oh my goodness.
So I went that morning, and me and Kevin were trying to bury her, crying, and then I took my pup out of her that night and got her killed on the road.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it was rough.
So were y'all able to save any of the pups that she was trying to have?
So Kevin's wife bottle fed these puppies, and I'm going over there every day. And his wife says, okay, look, there's 2 females. I'm keeping this one. I'm going to call her Fancy, and you can have this other one. I said, I'll take whatever you'll let me have. I want a female. So I'm going there every day. They're 6 weeks old. I go over there, and Lisa says, well, Brian, you're going to have to take Fancy because I like the other one better. And that made, my Fancy female out of Rambo 2 and Leach's Frosty. Made her Grand Night. She was the mother to Raisin Cane, RC and Jenny Cross. She was the mother to Uncle Penn, another, good Grand Night blue dog, male dog. And she was absolutely as good as it gets us, in my opinion. Everybody's got their own likes and dislikes, but
Yeah. So, and what did you say she was out of? She was out of the Frosty dog, and what was the male?
So my first Cindy female that I got killed on the road, so young, she was out of Seedlings Jazz and Frosty. Fancy was out of Rambo 2 and Frosty.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought you said. Yeah, not being a guy that knows a lot about Blueticks, I mean, I know a little bit, but I do know that name, Rambo 2, for sure.
So Rambo 2's mother was a litter mate to Frosty. She was also out of Hawk and Rock Ann.
Okay, so
Misty Blue was Rambo 2's mother.
So was Frosty and Rambo 2 litter mates, or they're just
no,
out of the same?
It was she was his aunt.
Okay, got you.
And it was an aunt nephew cross.
Okay, so you got your Fancy dog, and you start hunting her, and
did a lot of winning with her.
Did a lot of winning with her, and I guess you've done some breeding with her that you was talking about. What kind of was you breeding just to breed her to see what kind of reproducer she was going to be and what kind of mama she was going to be, or was you breeding, to continue this line of dogs for yourself and looking for something in particular?
Right. I mean, these dogs are different. I tell people that, and everybody thinks I'm crazy. But then they'll get a pup and they'll call, in 6 months or a year, and they'll say, I thought you were just, blowing smoke, but this is the best dog I've ever owned. I don't know how many people has told me that. They got a personality, and they're intelligent. And
yeah. What year time frame wise do you remember this was? For like your
I think Fancy was born in 96.
Okay, so mid 90s, is when we're talking about. So the dog that was killed on the road would have been a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, she was probably a year younger. She was probably born in 94 or 95.
So what kind of hunting style did these few dogs that you've had so far here, what kind of hunting style did they have? What kind of mouths do they have?
They both had really good mouths for a female. You seldom go out and somebody would have a louder dog. Or the first female I had, Cindy, like I say, I didn't know anything. I was just taking my dog out and hunting her, and she started opening in the back of the truck when I drove by this hog farm. Well, they had a silage pit there on the side of it, and she was striking coons out of the truck. So I started rigging her, and the guys around here didn't believe me because nobody had a dog that would do it. But she was deadly out of the truck. And really good layup dogs, but would get in there and get treed when they needed to. So, if the coon was 10 feet away, they would tree it 10 feet away. And, I've turned loose around corn patches and treed 10 around one corn patch.
Yeah.
But if you need them to get in there and get treed, if the coons aren't moving or whatever, they'll go as far as they need to.
Gotcha. So I guess they could treat just pretty much any type of coon.
Yeah, they absolutely.
So I guess you started breeding this dog. I guess you're starting to keep some puppies for yourself out of her.
Yeah. If I raise a litter, it's because I want to keep a puppy.
Okay. So you're not just breeding just to sell puppies to get them to the public. You're breeding for your own self to build your own line.
Right. Right. Exactly. I mean, I just want to keep what we got. I know everybody's big on saying they want to better the breed, but if I can keep what I got, I'm going to be a happy man.
Yeah. So all right. So you've had these females. What dog did you have next after that one?
Um, I had a couple of, so the same time that I got Fancy, Kevin had a female out of Hawk and Rock Ann again that he was breeding to Mike Hindemann's Broadaxe Max, which that's what Uchman's Albert was. And I ended up have female out of that cross and a male out of that cross from a different litter. And they were easy starting dogs, big mouths, really gamey, just.
So you you kept a male and a female out of that. So was you trying to hunt both of those, or did one take off better than the other, or?
Well, I actually had two females at the same time. I had Fancy, and then I like I say had a female out of Broadaxe Max and Leech's Patches, which, like I say, that's the cross that Usman's Albert was out of. And I had a female, called her Amanda. She was 6 months old. I'd hunted her 20 nights, and she'd treated 26 coons and one den. And the 20th night I had her out, she fell out of the truck and I run over her.
Man,
It broke her pelvis.
man, that's a bad deal. That's that's impressive numbers, and that's a bad deal all in the same sentence.
Yeah, she was a special female. And like I say, my Fancy female, she was sitting in the pen because, I was hunting the other female and she was just tearing the woods up.
So obviously you're a female guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
What makes you lean that way versus having a male dog?
Uh, Females are more level-headed. They're not scratching and throwing gravel and worried about trying to breed something. I've always liked a female.
Yeah, I kind of go either way, but I don't know. This blue English female I have, my wife says she's a drama queen. She can kind of get an attitude depending on what's going on, but yeah, I can see that. With the females, I like a good female, and I like a good female with a big mouth for sure. Um, and I guess that's probably what I like about a male dog. For the most part, you're gonna have a pretty decent mouth. But yeah, I can see the more level headed and maybe listens a little better.
Yeah, so Kevin had a litter mate female to Rambo 2, and he bred her to Rambo 3. And I was there, which I was there for most of the bigger breedings that Rambo 2 did there for a couple of years because he was at Kevin's house and I was over there every day. And so he called her Face. She was a night champion at the time. And I said, I absolutely want a female out of this litter. He said, they're 500 apiece, which that was back in, 97, 98. And so I pulled out 500. I said, okay, there you go. I want second pick female or whatever I can get. And so Lonnie Smiley, at that time, he took Rambo 2 back to Arkansas and took Face to have that litter of puppies down there because he had a running pin. And the pups, I don't know, were 3 months old, 4 months old. And Jeremy Smiley was coming back up here to deer hunt that fall. So I went over to Kevin's house to get my female that I booked. And Jeremy pulls up and drags the dog out of the dog box, and it's got a dick on it. I said, whoa.
But you paid for a female.
Yeah. I said, Kevin, what in the world? He said, Lonnie said you are to hunt this dog. And he handed me my 500 back.
Really? Huh.
And that was Frosty Blue Bobo.
Okay, that I've heard that name. Also, I'm not real familiar with it, but some of these names, of course, I had Lonnie Uchman on the podcast also, so some of these names are familiar to me. So you pay for a female. They take the female. They take the female that's bred to Arkansas. These pups get 3 or 4 months old. They come up to deer hunt. And you go over and meet them to get your pup, and he drags a male pup out that's supposed to be a female. That something's in the water in Arkansas, I guess. And
well,
and so how did this go? Because I mean, up to this point, it sounds like you're pretty diehard on females. I mean, I'm assuming you're pretty disappointed, or it didn't matter to you.
He was a pretty dog as you can see. I mean, he was built good mouth, hadn't been touched a whole lot. You could tell that he'd been running loose in Lonnie's pen down there, and he was already treeing. So, after he made up with me and I started hunting him, I was real happy. He was the full package.
So in the end, I guess it worked out for you.
Oh, absolutely. It worked out. Lonnie was looking down the road, and Lonnie really liked Bobo. At one point we were at a hunt somewhere, and Lonnie gave me the best compliment anybody could have gave me. He said, and he'd actually took Bobo and hunted him down at the Battle of the Breeds, and he wanted to keep him, and I wouldn't let him keep him. But Lonnie said, Bobo is the closest thing to Rambo 2 that there ever has been as far as reproducing and hunting. That was the biggest compliment he could have gave, I thought.
Yeah. So you got all these females and you got Bobo. Are you in the stud dog business at this point, or are you?
Yeah, I was then. Yeah.
So
yeah.
How did that go? I hear some guys love it, and other guys it's like a horror story to them once it happens.
It was the horror story. I won't do it again.
Yeah, that's what I hear most say. They get off work, come home, and there's trucks in the driveway.
Yeah, Christmas Day. I bred a female Christmas Day one time. It was Lonnie's girlfriend, Belinda. She brought a granite female up and bred it Christmas Day. But yeah, it's and you can't get away from people. They're calling you, and you got to talk.
Yeah. So you get Bobo, you make up with him, and you and him kind of get on the same page there. What kind what kind of dog was he? Was he same style, tree any type of coon, big mouth?
Yeah, he was great. I'd been hunting him, and I hadn't told Kevin. And so Kevin had won Autumn Oaks with a Walker dog, a Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I had Fancy at the time, two really good Grand Night dogs. And once I started a pup, I wouldn't hunt with anybody. I'd hunt them right by themselves. And Bobo had been doing pretty good. And so Kevin called me and said, "Hey, I want to go. I want to see your young dog." I said, "Well, he ain't doing a whole lot." And we pulled down in the bottoms and turned loose in a cornfield, and they hit a hot track out in the cornfield. We're having a good cornfield race. About the third lap, Bobo just falls tree just right in front of us. Oh, Kevin, he just starts laughing at me. He said, "Boy, your young dog got throwed out." 100, 150 yards down the creek, Fancy falls treed. Old Stone Cold still run the track, He said, "Oh, looks like Fancy got thrown out too." And then Stone Cold, about another 200, 300 yards, he falls treed. So we got, three dogs just telling the world about it. We probably walked 50 yards into Bobo, and he's got a coon. And right then, Kevin started trying to buy him.
Yeah, I bet.
And walked to Fancy, another 150 yards. She has a coon. And walk on down to Stone Cold, and he's got a coon. Yeah, a lot of good nights.
So, is Conner a thought in the world yet, or we still prior to Conner?
Yeah, no, I don't think he's around yet.
Okay. So,
When were you born, Conner?
2002.
Yeah, he was 2002 model.
okay. So, you got Bobo. What did you run him up and down the road some hunts, or what all did you do with him?
So he was about 12 months old. I don't think he was a year old. And we went to Bluetick days. There had been 2 or 3 guys trying to buy him just as a puppy price, and I had priced him out of this world to him. And we go to Bluetick days, first hunt. I don't know, he scored, I'm not even sure, probably 800 or 900. Got second place at Bluetick days, second place registered, the first hunt he's ever put in. And here come those guys, wanting to buy him for what I priced him for. And of course, it was double the price. And then they didn't want to buy him anymore. I got scratched for squalling at a tree the second night at Bluetick days. The next 5 hunts we put him in, he got first place at every hunt. UKC called me, said, "Hey, why are you hunting a registered dog and not champion casts?" I don't know if somebody had complained or what, but I said, "Well, not. He's a night champion." They said, "Well, the hunt reports haven't caught up. Quit hunting him." And that was back when you had to have the first place and so many points or whatever.
Yeah.
So we stopped hunting him and broke him out that spring. Kevin took him to an RQE, scored like 1375 or something, won the hunt and the show. Took him to Ashland to the Bluetick spring hunt and won king of the hunt there with him. And he just, everything you put him in, he won.
So,
And
hold on just a second. So UKC called you and said stop hunting him because the hunt reports hadn't caught up, but he was a night champion, and you were hunting him in the right category.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think somebody had complained.
Okay. I just,
Well,
I don't know.
he was making he was probably just 13 months old or 14 months old. And, he was making those old dogs look pretty bad, I guess. I don't know, but At that point, Rambo 2 died. And then Rambo 3 died right after Rambo 2 died, not very long afterwards. So I made the decision to quit hunting him, because I felt like he was going to be the stud dog we needed to carry on with that bloodline.
So you may not want this told on publicly, and if you don't, just tell me you don't, and I'll edit all this out. But did you? So did you have did you have this dog collected? So you got semen on him?
Yeah, I think I got enough to breed about 55 females.
Oh, okay, okay. I just
But
some
yeah, I don't want I don't want that, out as far as the number, but I do have frozen semen, we can.
okay. Yeah, I'll take the numbers part out, but okay. So you got him collected. You how old was he when you kind of backed off hunting?
Do.
Oh, so he was young. Okay.
Oh
Um,
yeah, really. He would have really done a lot in the hunts, but I just didn't feel right, risking him. The last night I turned him loose. I turned him loose on some state ground at, way back, and coons weren't moving. And I got him. He was treed, 10 feet off the road with cars driving by where I got him. So, but I mean, as far as handling, you could call him off of anything, anywhere, he'd come right to you. When you went hunting, you never had to touch him. You'd open the kennel door and he'd go jump in the back of the truck. Put his collars on him, put him in the dog box. You get to where you're hunting, you just open the door and point him which way to go. And I never put a lead on him. And shooting coons out or not shooting coons out, he'd be right with you. Didn't matter if he was treed 5 minutes or hour and a half. You could holler at him and he'd come right to you.
so after some time has passed now, for sure. Did you ever regret the decision to put him up, or you think you made the right decision?
I don't know. I mean, I missed hunting him. Um, so I put him up when he was 2. He was 12 years old, and someone wanted to hear him tree or something. So he hadn't been turned loose in 10 years. He was 12 years old, and we took him out, turned him loose 3 times, and he treed 3 coons.
Yeah, well, he didn't forget how.
Yeah, that just boggles my mind though that you could do that with a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, I think once it's kind of trained into them, I think they kind of remember. They may not be as, you know, crisp and sharp as they were, when you're hunting them all the time, but I think they still know how to get the job done.
Yeah, definitely.
So, 2 years old, you put Bobo up. What you had to? I'm assuming you probably had a female somewhere that you were messing with, or what was next?
Well, I had a couple females. Tony Clevenger had bought RC off of me, and he was breeding him to Jenny. The RC and Jenny cross. Um, and that was making some really nice dogs. And I got me a couple females off Tony, and I started breeding those dogs to Bobo. They were both night champion females, and they threw absolutely good pups. And
How many puppies did Bobo have? Do you know?
I can look here real quick. Let's see.
I just thought it might be interesting to know. You put him up and was breeding and focusing on other things. I just may be interested to know how many pups he had.
Looks like 300.
339.
How
Okay.
many night champions?
It doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
He had 19 night champions and 6 grand nights.
Okay.
At night.
So you've been breeding him and you got some pups. So what are you hunting now that you got him put up?
Uh, well, that's about the time old Connor rolled around, and I
Oh,
was working midnights.
well, and a little boy that may have slowed some hunting down just a little bit.
Well, I was working midnights at the post office, and then I was working for a tree trimmer through the day. So I was probably sleeping about 4 hours a night and bouncing between 2 jobs. And then Connor had a plastic baseball bat. He'd run up and down the hallway beating on my door through the day when I was trying to sleep.
Well, I don't know nothing about working at the post office, but I do know a little bit about working for a tree service, and I can tell you was probably tired.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
And I know something about little boys and plastic baseball bats. I've got two boys myself.
Well, Connor never was a little boy.
So so obviously it sounds like your hunting slowed down quite a bit. But you were able to keep this line going and alive, and I'm assuming that was through breeding and either keeping a few dogs yourself or some buddies was hunting some of these dogs, so you could keep it
Yeah,
alive.
there was a lot of, like I say, several title dogs out of Bobo, um, and a kid dog down in Alabama that Pepper Blackman won the Winter Classic with. He went right back to him. Uh, it seemed like the Bobo females really reproduced on whatever you bred them to.
So
David,
what what uh what do you think? So you said the females kind of reproduced on whatever you bred them to. Was there something, a line that really stood out that you crossed back on, or was you trying to line breed, or was you out crossing to something else, or?
the most of the stuff I did was line breeding. Um, there was a lot of other. I was breeding quite a few outside females also, but it seemed like if they got the time put in them, that they turn out pretty decent.
It's funny if I've always thought and I've heard this said the pup that gets hunted the most is going to be the one that's the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all right, so now you got a little boy, you're working 2 jobs. Um, at what point in that time was you able to kind of pick back up hunting? And Connor, maybe you can speak in here, or Brian, you can tell it either way. When did you kind of introduce Connor to this world?
Well, I've seen a lot of people take their boys and girls to coon hunting and just burn them out on it. Coon hunting's a little rough on a kid. So I really didn't take Connor a whole lot. I just took him enough to aggravate him with it.
You just took
Yeah.
him enough to make him want to go.
Yeah. And then once I was able to go, I was hooked. It was full speed ahead once I got my driver's license and you know got a good dog and everything situated. I was hell on wheels.
So okay, so Connor, you get up to get your driver's license. Have you been to a comp hunt prior to your driver's license? When did you get to go to your first comp hunt and actually compete?
I got to go to my first competition hunt when I was 16. Had my driver's license. Uh, I'd been to a couple hunts before when I was younger. With dad. I remember going to Bluetick days when I was really young and stuff like that. But I'd never got to compete in the hunts until I was able to go myself.
Got you. So I guess your dad still had a few dogs around, and um, Was you hunting something out of that, or did you find something
Uh,
somewhere else? Or
I was hunting a grand pup to Bobo, and
thank goodness, I was sure
he,
hoping you weren't going to say you went and got a walker dog and was hunting a walker dog,
yeah,
and your dad had all these blue ticks.
I think I had one over here at the house. I had the pen for like 15 minutes, and he threatened to kick me out, and it wasn't even my dog. It was a buddy's dog, and he was on the warpath.
Yeah, I bet. So you hunting stuff out of here. And what was your first dog you was kind of really starting to burn the roads up with?
Uh, we went and bought a male dog out of Pepper Blackman's Grits female. We called him Frosty Blue Bam. John Pass out in Oklahoma has him now. And I was I got pretty good at losing, because I had no idea what it was to handle a dog in the hunts. You know, I took a lot of $35 lessons and took a lot that I probably shouldn't have.
I think we've all done that, buddy.
And then after Bam, I got my Miss Rainbow female, and she was out of Pepper Blackman's Grits female and directly out of Bobo Seaman. And that's when I really started getting my picture taken and winning.
And you still got the Miss Rambo female, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So okay, so you use some Bobo semen on that guy's female, and just from what I heard, what I've kind of hear and see and stuff, the Miss Rambo female sounds like she turned out to be a pretty nice dog. Was there other dogs out of that cross that turned out pretty good?
There was only 4 pups in the litter. One of them got killed, and there's only one female out of the whole litter. There's one male dog. I don't know where they live. Arkansas, maybe. They live in Arkansas or Mississippi, somewhere down in there. They've got one. They call him S&B's Blue Rambo. He's a pretty nice dog. He's either a Grand Night or Night Champion. I'm not real sure.
Okay. So, I guess whose idea, Brian, was it your idea, or Conner, was it your idea to make this cross, or how did that come about?
Well, Grits was actually out of a male dog out of Bobo. And an RC Jenny female. And I was wanting to make the cross because it was, a really tight line bred cross out of all our dogs. And I gotta say, Pepper Blackman is an upstanding guy because we negotiated. I wanted a female. Well, so did he, and there was only one female in the litter, and he made good on it. And so I didn't do anything with the pup. I let Conner take her, and he's a little opinionated sometimes, so I let him do all the.
Yeah, there's a couple nights of disagreements on training methods.
Yeah. Hey, I understand. My oldest son worked for me. I have a lawn care and landscape company, and he worked for me for a little while. And he don't work for me no more because me and him are too much alike.
At that point, Dad was still able to take truck keys away and stuff, and I got my dog taken away from me a couple times, but I would say it was for the better. Because 17-year-old boy with a puppy, isn't always the best thing for the puppy.
Yeah, I understand that for sure.
But
So you kind of you got Miss Rambo and you're kind of burning the roads up with her. Is there any hunts that stick out in your mind with her, whether it be pleasure hunt or comp hunt?
yeah, I mean, we the first hunt I ever put her in was it was Indiana's first RQE of the year. There was, I don't know, there was 40 or 50 dogs there, and she first place at that RQE, won the whole thing. And after that we had hit and miss on some little hunts. I was still learning how to be a handler, and I took her to Autumn Oaks as a 2-year-old, and we placed second overall in the registered division at Autumn Oaks. And then after that, we had my cousin had took her to the Indiana State Youth Hunt and won the Indiana State Youth Hunt with her. And then I took her to Bluetick Days, and this is all within a span of like 2 months. We had we've won the invitational at Bluetick Days, and then I drew the high and mighty Airplane 4, and we kind of broke it off in him pretty bad.
So, um, okay. So how old was she at this time?
She's 3.5, 4 years old.
Okay. Had you bred her at this time at all, or you just hunting her?
No, I was just hunting her.
Okay. And how old is she today?
She's 7 years old.
7 years old. Okay. So, are you still currently hunting her, running her up and down the road any, or are you just hunting pups out of her?
I'm hunting pups out of her. After I went on a pretty good run with her, my dad talked me into getting a job at the post office. I started working midnights and weekends, and I haven't been able to hit the hunts like I was. But
He didn't talk. Now he didn't talk you into working for the tree service too, did he?
No,
okay.
I worked for the tree service when I was in high school a little bit, and I found out the tree service was a little bit rougher work, and I wanted to be involved with it.
Yeah, I started when I was 19 doing trees, and I'll be 47 this year. So I completely understand. So you what about these pups? What is she throwing? What have you bred her to?
She's her first litter is doing it pretty darn good. We bred her to Jeremy Smiley's Thief Dog out of Big Country, and Jeremy's Fancy Female. And man, I'm more than happy with what the pups are doing. There was one that just won the pup derby at the BBCHA Spring Roundup. Cody Chandler's female. He calls her Blue Strips. And we got the pups pretty well scattered out across the country, and they're doing awfully well.
Yeah. So Brian, are you still messing around hunting in the woods some, or you just kind of turned it over to Conner? What are you messing with something, or had you been messing with something at the same time that he's messing with around?
I got some females. I've been breeding a little bit and getting a few pups, but I'm not hunting much.
Okay, yeah. So did y'all only hunt UKC, or did you play in both PKC and UKC, or I know a lot of that stuff mentioned was UKC. I just didn't know if you messed around in PKC any or not.
Just little bitty hunts every once in a while. I remember one time I drew Rambo 2 in a PKC hunt and ended up beating him with one of my little females. And I had rode with those guys, so I had to hear it all the way home.
Oh, I bet. Boy, ain't that something? You drive to a hunt way off and you end up drawing somebody you know.
Yeah.
It's how it always works.
Yeah.
Around here.
Yeah. Well, it's the same way with us. There's a group of us. We try to keep our groups, everybody's name on our dog paper, so we don't have to do that. But sometimes it don't work out that way. So okay, so you're breeding a few females, and you just kind of piddling, hunting here and there now.
Yeah. He did. David Sloth bred his Granite female to the Bobo semen, and he had a really nice litter of puppies out of the semen. So we're breeding a few females of the semen, but I'm pretty selective on what we breed.
Yeah. So I guess Conner, Dad's kind of turned the night hunting over to you, and you're gonna have to just tough it out and hunt early and go into work at midnight and just go on no sleep till the next day. So where are you going to go from here after Miss Rambo and these pups? Or you got something you're thinking you might be able to push on down the road when you get some time, or what are you thinking?
Well, like I said, I've got a pretty nice young female out of her and Thief, and I've got a really promising 4 or 5 month old pup at the house out of her, and my cousin's male dog, Frosty Blue Uncle Bo, and I'm
You're hunting him tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm actually hunting him tomorrow night, pro sport hunt. But
yeah. Well, I didn't even think about asking about pro sport, but I guess y'all are up there in that country where they have probably quite a few of them, huh?
yeah, I dabble in it a little bit. I don't know. I mainly go to the bigger hunts anymore.
Gotcha.
I've won a couple $100 with PKC.
Got you. Brian, I want to make sure, was there any dogs in there that you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover? I think we got them all, but I want to make sure we did, because, like I said, this is y'all's history. This is, something that can be preserved for years. That I guess, I don't know if Conner's got kids, but one day maybe he'll have some grandkids for you. They'll be able to go back and listen to this.
It may be sooner than later. And my grandkids.
Well,
I've got one due in December.
Oh, well, congratulations. I'm excited for Brian because I'm a granddad, and I know if he could just skip the kid and get the grandkids, it's great.
I just hope it's a little redheaded boy that has a plastic baseball bat.
Yeah.
And if he don't have one, he will have one.
Hey, I understand. Right now I have 2 granddaughters, and they are both just very special, and the littlest one is glued to me. Like they're here tonight, and I said, Granddad's got to go upstairs and do a podcast, and she's bringing me my phone, and she's helping me bring stuff upstairs, and it's just something special about them for sure. So congratulations, Conner. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
So you'll have your coon hunting buddy for long, Conner.
I'm hoping so. Hopefully have someone else to carry the torch one of these days.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, Brian, you put in the work to kind of build what you got. You kept the females that you needed to keep, and I mean, you kind of got, I guess, in the beginning, may look like you got the short end of the stick on the male dog, but it sounds like it worked out in the end. And Conner, it sounds like to me that you're doing your part to try to keep this going at least till you can get enough time up to really get to pushing dogs and hunts again.
Yeah, that's, I don't know, the light's looking a little bit brighter on the end of the tunnel for better hours and better days off. But because
Yeah,
I mean, I have Tuesday and Wednesday off, and unless I'm gonna go hit a $35 open somewhere, I don't have much chance to hit a hunt unless I go hit a late round.
yeah. Well, hey, I get it. We all go through that stage. It times will change and
Oh yeah.
jobs will change, and you'll be able to get back out there, and get at it. Well, anybody got a story they want to share? Funny, serious, whatever, other than the your cousin getting set up by the game warden.
Yeah. Oh, we got a lot of stories. Connor, he ran into a snake last year, and
Yeah.
it was a copperhead, and it struck him. And about the time he seen it, it struck his leg. At the time, he didn't know it, but the snake's fangs had got caught up in his blue jeans, but hadn't actually got him. And you know how you instinctively try to kick it off of you. Well, the more he kicked, the more the snake swung, and it was ringing circles, and he couldn't get it out of his pants.
He wouldn't have had to worry about me because he would have had the pants because I don't do snakes. I would have I'd have been done right there.
And it was right after work. I had my hunting stuff in my truck, and I went and picked up a young male dog out of Bobo, a semen up, and I was I was excited to turn him loose. Didn't stop at the house and grab my boots, and I just went and turned loose. And man, I had treed 3 or 4 coons with him, and I thought to myself, you know what? I'll just go to the house, but he's looking too damn good. Might as well turn him loose one more time. And I turned him loose, and he sunk through the country. He's about a little over a half mile. And I was walking in there to him, and I'm wearing my Irish setter Red Wing boots and Carhartt jeans. And I step over a log, and I feel something hit me in the ankle of the boot. Well, I looked down, and I picked up my foot. And when I picked up my foot, he got enough slack to get me. And he struck that second time, and I thought I was hit.
Yeah,
I went
no,
kicking and running. And
yeah.
I called
The
Dad,
dog would still be treed if it'd been me. I'm telling you, I'd been at the truck.
And the bad part is, I was close enough to him to see a collar light blinking, and I think I run past him while I had the snake hooked him.
Yeah, no, that's no, I couldn't do it. So, Brian, 30 years plus probably. What have you seen change in these dogs, if anything?
As far as the hunts go, I mean, the dogs have changed a lot.
Well, I'm saying your line of dogs, have they stayed pretty consistent from the time you started this 30 something years ago to today? Are you seeing the same traits passed on, generation after generation? Are they packing, are they packy type, dogs back then and they're more independent now? Or they always been independent, that type of thing?
Yeah. No, they've always been independent to a fault almost, when you're training a young dog, you might as well just hunt them by themselves because they're not going to pack up. It's but that's kind of what I've been breeding for is the layup ability and that independence and the good mouth and that's what I've been focused on is to keep those good traits and maybe try to weed out some of the stuff you don't like a whole lot, the tree jacking and the chewing and maybe bumping some junk a little bit, So I feel like I'm going in the direction I want to go in. I'm just not going real fast.
Gotcha. Well, that's hey, if you go if you're going in the direction that you want to go, and you feel like you're gaining ground on that, that's all that matters. I had a gentleman on the podcast. I re-released that episode last week, I think. Mr. Tim Kramer, and he said a guy told him a man needs to hunt a dog that suits him and suits his terrain around his house. So if them two things are met, then you're probably on the right track.
Yeah, and we're really lucky in the terrain we have. We live around Lake Monroe, and we got we got swamp, we got cornfields, we got ridges and hollers, and depending on which way you drive, you can about get to any kind of terrain you want to get to.
Yeah. Well, and that especially if you're going to get a dog ready for a hunt, or you're going to run up and down the roads a little bit. I mean, that's pretty handy to be able to put them in any of those situations.
Yeah, yeah, like I say, we're really lucky to have all that close that we can, you can go any night you want to go, and whatever you think your dog needs work on, that's where you go.
Yeah. Well, I've got some friends that do a podcast, and that's where I've heard of not the Marilyn Monroe, but the Morgan Monroe forest. So surely there's what they say is some weird stuff goes on down there.
Absolutely weird stuff.
So you got any stories you can share with us about that?
I stay away from that place.
So you got stories that you've heard, maybe.
So we were road hunting a walker dog one night and up down through Morgan Monroe State Forest, and we'd treat some coons with him. He's a great dog. You could tell him you get in the truck and he'd rig out of the truck, or you could put him in front of the truck and he'd road hunt, or you could turn him loose. He was a really nice dog. And we're road hunting down through there one night, and it's, I don't know, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we come to a crossroads, and there's somebody broke down in the crossroads. Well, big male dog, he comes to a tire. You know what he's going to do? He's going to go mark his territory on that tire. But the problem was the tire wasn't on the truck, and that poor guy's face was right there.
Oh, no.
And that guy squalled. That dog filled his face full. And we just drove right on across the crossroads, and Kevin hollered, "Come on, Slammer, let's go." And we went on down the road. Didn't know who it was. Come to find out, it was somebody we knew that coon hunted. And he didn't know it was us.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a bad night for sure.
Was for him.
Broke down car and peed on. That's not good. Not good at all. Well, I don't want to hold y'all up too late. I know it's getting on up later there, and Connor only got 2 nights a week to hunt. He might want to hunt his dog, but I don't want to let you go early if there's something that we need to go over or we missed or something else y'all wanted to share.
Yeah.
Y'all got anything
You know
else
how it
you want to
is.
share?
You'll think of 10 or 15 things after the fact.
Oh, yeah. That's always the case. And hey, we can do this again. We get that grandbaby here. You can have that grandbaby on one hip and the phone on the other, and we can talk dogs some more. This ain't got to be the last time. That's for sure. Connor, you got anything you want to add in there before we get off here?
Not anything I can think of, really. I'm good. Is there anything you can think of?
I just want to make sure we got everything covered that we needed to get covered. I think we went through the dogs, and definitely Brian has done a good job of of keeping them good females around and keeping the line alive, and obviously done the part of making sure that good male dog got collected, so you can reach back to that when you need to. So I just wanted to make sure we
Well,
didn't miss anything.
that's the thing I said to him earlier. I said, heck, it's going to be mainly you talking. I said, I really haven't done anything. I said, I said, yeah, I've put them in the woods and done a little bit of winning. I said, everything I've done has been because, you done stuff
You got two good litters out of Mr.
20, 30 years ago that has set me up for.
Well, I can probably tell you as a dad, um, my 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 oldest son don't well, neither one of my boys coon hunt. My youngest daughter probably coon hunted the most, and my oldest daughter probably coon hunted the most. But my youngest son, I was hunting dogs for the public, and he was going with me, and that was a mistake. I burned him out. And
Mm-hmm.
as a dad, we've kind of got to messing with some feist dogs. I did. I kind of mess with anything that'll do something, and I got this little feist dog, and he was making a squirrel dog, and he got sick and died on me, and I bought his brother and ended up breeding his brother to another feist and got a really nice female out of it. And my youngest son, I was going to breed her, and he wanted a pup, and I've never really, I never took the time to do what Brian has done, for you, Connor, trying to, build a line to have something to, hopefully pass on to one of my kids one day or grandkids one day. And as a dad or a granddad, you know, I'm sure Brian's just as happy to see you trying your best from growing up to be a responsible young adult and a future father and try to keep this line alive. I'm sure he's just as happy to see that go on as he would be to go win a big hunt somewhere.
Yeah, I was happy to see him place at Automo because that was really something. That's a hard hunt to place in.
Yes, and I'm gonna tell you something. Last year was my first trip to Autumn Oaks, and I thought I was back in South Alabama when I drew out. We crawled on our hands and knees, and I thought I'm in the mountains where I'm at, and I thought you take me back to the mountains. This is crazy.
Did you find some nice cutover?
I don't know what it was. We went 15 minutes south of the fairgrounds to these ditches that had, I guess it was cut over years ago, and they let the brush grow back between the fields or whatever. Holy cow! I mean, literally, I judged the cast, and I crawled on my hands and knees to a couple of trees.
Yeah.
It gets pretty rough down around that Brookville Lake. Well, like I told you the other day when we were on the phone, I was hunting that big male dog, and he he swam the lake and got treed on an island.
Yeah, that was
You know,
crazy. And what did you tell me? You couldn't get anybody to bring a boat to you, so you ended up having to swim out
yeah,
there.
yeah. I jacked around and called, and I called the DNR ranger station, and they told me they wouldn't bring a boat till morning. Well, I'm I'm getting paid to hunt this dog. He ain't mine. I can't leave him out there. And I ended up having to swim out there to get him. And the hour ended up catching me, and I was leading the cast. And those
That's
guys
tough break.
guys made sure to scratch me.
Oh, I'm sure.
And
Um,
that was another dog. We went on a pretty good run with.
what dog was that?
He was a male dog out of Crash. They called him Rambo. We ended up placing him. I think we placed him seventh in the AKC World Hunt.
Okay. Um, yeah, and I talked about how bad the hunting was, and like I said, last year was the first year I've ever been to Autumn Oaks. Um, I'm like I said, I'm from Southeast Alabama originally, and I only lived about 45 minutes from where the Winter Classic was in Albany, Georgia, because I was right on the east side of Alabama. But everybody told me how hot it would could be up there during Autumn Oaks. But I'm gonna tell you what, last year it was so
It was
cool.
cold last year.
My wife went with me, and we got up there Thursday evening, and that was a whole ordeal just getting there. That was a nightmare. Just it's a long story, but we get there Thursday night about 11 o'clock, get in the hotel, and Friday morning we get up and go to the fairgrounds, and she had to buy a jacket. I mean, it was cold.
Oh yeah, me and my cousin got the bright idea 2 years ago. We bought a pop-up camper, and we were just going to use it for Autumn Oaks. Well, 2 years ago we drug it up there, and I'm I know it was in the hundreds, high 90s, 100 degrees, and that pop-up camper was like an easy bake oven.
And
and and it was like that all day long. And then at night it was still hot in there. I slept under the truck one night.
and I honestly, after going, I thought, I ought to bring my camper and stay in my camper, and and have just some camaraderie, be able to meet people because you're there on the fairgrounds, and there is a lot of people camping. I think that's a cool concept. I seen three campers kind of made a U shape there together, and they all had their tables set out, and I thought, man, that's what the old time coon hunting was about, sitting around telling stories
Okay.
and talking and stuff like that. I just can't figure out how to shut all them dogs up.
Yeah, see, we were going to park over in the shade. Well, shade's over by them damn dog barns. And, you know, I, I've only got good things to say about Grant Whitmer, other than how many damn dogs he brings to hunt like that.
Well,
Because we were right next to that pen of puppies that he usually has, and so we moved after the first night. Well, we moved to the other side of the fairgrounds where there ain't a lick of shade. And then we burned to death the rest of the week. But
yeah,
last year, you know how you said it was cold? And we had to buy a heater to put inside the camper.
yeah. I think and they still had to deal with a little bit of barking dogs, but when you go in the gate and I guess that'd
Yeah.
be the north, it'd be the left when you're going in the gate there. There's a little group of trees way up yonder. And I think those guys had the right idea to go up there around them two or three trees, because down there, kind of close to the action, there's quite a few barking dogs down there. And I thought, my goodness, I'd had to sleep with earplugs in.
Yeah, that's where we usually camped, was down there by those trees, but we never got there early enough to get under them.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a cool event. Cool enough that my wife, is interested in going back with me. And she's not, she's interested because I'm interested, in stuff like this. But I think she enjoyed it, and it is definitely a cool event. And uh, as of right now, I'm making plans to return this year. So if I do, um, we can maybe stay in touch, Connor or Brian, if both of y'all end up being up there, and maybe I can at least meet y'all in person and shake your hands, and tell you thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing a little bit of your history and your story with us.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's one hunt I make sure to make it to every year. I take a week of vacation that week, so.
Yeah. Well, I'll look forward to seeing you up there. If you guys don't have anything else, I know we're bumping 9:30 y'all's time, and I don't want to keep you on here any longer than you want to be here. So, if you don't have anything else, I think we covered it all where we can kind of shut this thing down.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Brian, Conner, thank you both for being on the podcast this week, and I look forward to maybe meeting both of y'all in person one day and shaking hands, like I said, and maybe, like I said, we can get that grandbaby here and we can maybe do another one, and we'll be talking about 3 generations of Blueticks.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Well, y'all have a good night, and we will talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Thanks, guys, for listening to the Coonhound Collective podcast today. We really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to listen to the podcast. If you don't mind, head over to Facebook and give us a like, and head over to Instagram and give us a follow. It's both at the Coonhound Collective. Also, if you would like to reach us here at the Coonhound Collective, you can reach us at thecoonhoundcollective@gmail.com. If there's someone that you would like to hear on the podcast or a product that you would like to hear talked about, please send it to thecoonhoundcollective@gmail.com. Thanks again. Have a great day.